Miles Shinkwin. Jose Burton's been knocking around, or even though he's still a young man, out at the Gallagher's gym, and Crolla knows him very well. He's a huge light heavyweight. I'm not sure how he makes 12 stone 7, to be honest with you. Has shown a load of ability over the years, but now he has a real step up, and he's never really fought anyone of any note. And then you've got Miles Shinkwin, who Spencer knows well from around his way, very talented fighter, fighting family as well. Most of them, Shinkwins, have been in the ring. I just think it's an intriguing match. Two young fighters in a fight they really can't afford to lose if they want to get to the places where they believe they'll get to. And the other one is Isaac Lowe against Marco McCulloch. It's a classic Belfast, Manchester matchup as well. A Commonwealth featherweight title. Marco McCulloch looked like a real prospect, and then got knocked out in what should have been an easy fight abroad. And Isaac Lowe's Tyson Fury's cousin, he'll be there cheering him on. He's very lively and very exciting to watch. And looking forward to see Ryan Burnett as well. Huge fight for him in front of 20,000, probably 10,000 from Northern Ireland. It's going to be a huge night for him.
I was going to ask you, Johnny, about Ryan Burnett, who was in Sky recently, and we were very impressed with him. He came in for the day. Obviously, he had that win over Jason Booth. He's won 94 of 98 as an amateur. He's on the card. There's Josh Taylor, who's everyone's talking is the next great thing to come out of Scotland. I mean, this rich talent around, isn't there?
Ryan Burnett, I just hope he keeps winning, because he has the character, he has that, there's something about him where he can, if he keeps winning, he can be a superstar for the future. The kid, there's just something different about him. Reminds me of a young Naz. When he talks to you, there's just something, there's a spark about him, there's something, a naivety about him where it excites you and you're drawn to him. So as long as he keeps getting the job done, keeps getting the wins in, eventually he'll be the guy. He might be the next big pay-per-view star in the next 18 months or so, because the kid is hot dog.
Spencer, you're nodding in agreement.
Yeah, Burnett is definitely one for the future. I think, just echoing what John said, I think that he could go on and become a real big star. And yeah, definitely excited about him. But also, talking about a fight that Eddie mentioned, Miles Shinkwin and Jose Burton, two unbeaten fighters, and them two guys, they know, the winner's going to go on to much bigger things. So it's so much on the line for that one. That could be fight of the night as well. And that's saying a lot when we're talking about Brampton Quigg, which for me could be a little bit of a chess match at the beginning. There will be a lot of respect going in there, and I think the fight will explode at some point. But the fight of the night could be Shinkwin and Jose Burton. That's because they've got so much on the line.
Stacked card. It's going to be a great, isn't it? Let's open it up to the floor. Anyone, I'm sure there's lots of questions out there. You've all come down. Don't be shy. Chuck them at us.
Yeah, good evening, gentlemen. Pleasure to meet everybody. In terms of talking about the two abilities of both boxers, who do you think's got the greater punch resistance, Scott or Carl? So, for example, I think when Carl Frampton puts combinations together over the period of time, I think Scott can be a little bit open to them.
Very good question.
Well,
Who do you want?
Yeah, I think that we've seen both guys on the floor, and they've both got up, and they've both come through some mini crisis that they've been in. It showed that they've got that championship material to go on. So I think that both guys, if they're hit, can be hurt, and both guys carry enough power to hurt the other one. So I think it could be a case of both of them getting on the floor, but they've got that desire to win. And as all the boys have said already, that it means so much to both of these guys that losing's not an option. So I think that they both can be hit, they both can be hurt, but they both will get up again. So I think you're very equal there on resistance to punches.
Okay, thank you.
I actually think that Frampton takes a slightly better shot, just by his, I know we've only seen him really get hit in his last fight really, but from what I remember Quigg early doors in his career, I mean, and he'll probably disagree with me, but I know he got put over a couple of times by a journeyman type. Obviously he's grown, he's probably he's stronger now and what have you, and he's fitter now. But I still go back to the Martinez fight as well. The first round, Martinez for me, he looked rattled and he looked in trouble, and he picked a beautiful shot and pulled it out of the bag, and that's by the by. But I just think, for me, Frampton probably takes a better shot. Could be wrong.
Good question.
I think we was looking, I was watching back last night on Sky, the KOs. Scott went down twice, he went down twice in that. But I think the big thing for me is you've got to look how much Scott had improved from early on against the Italian bloke who put him down with a heavy shot. James Arthur who put him down just a straight stiff shot. Obviously Carl being down on the floor last time, but you only look at Scott's body, he's turned into a man, he was a boy back then. And that for me is why I believe Scott takes the better shot. Could be the difference.
He went straight up to the knee though, Anthony, didn't he? He was like right up on his knee right away.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, he
took
knew
the shot,
exactly
he
where he
was
was
right
and
up,
at
like,
times needed to take the
He
hit
took
out.
the
So he
shot, but
wasn't
he was
shook up back. It's similar to Carl last time out. He
definitely.
was never shaky legs.
Yeah,
He recovered well.
yeah.
I'll just follow up that with Johnny. Do you think it'll come down, probably will, to who makes more mistakes, and who do you think has made more mistakes so far?
Well, the question is about, first, initially you were talking about who else can take the best shot. Scott Quick showed he's obviously hit a lot easier, but he can take the shot because he's got to be carried on to win. So it's not a case of if he can take the shot, it's not a case of just taking the shot, it's being able to handle it. So obviously Scott gets hit a lot easier. I do think we've never seen Cole Frampton in that situation where he's been hit, hurt and have to get up. So it's hard to answer that question. He's just probably got a better defence than Scott has. But yes, both fighters have matured, both fighters have gotten stronger physically, mentally and emotionally. And now they have something to fight for. So listen, Thomas Hearns was classed as chinny and he managed to fix his style, and even though he might have been chinny, he adjusted that style so he just didn't hit his chin. Vladimir Klitschko was the same. So I think Scott has done the same as well. He's adjusted his style, his defence, so he doesn't get hit as easy. But he's shown he can take a shot. Because if you can't take a shot, when you go down, you stay down. He's got up to come back and win. Whereas we've not seen Carl in that condition yet. We saw him in his last fight get put down. I think that was awkward misfortune. He just didn't know how to handle it. Straight back up again. But he's not been tested yet. So we'll have to, that's our one to answer.
There's been some talk today, and I know Johnny speculated as well, that the card might be struggling to make weight. I would just like to hear the panel's views on the significance of that issue as a whole, and whether specifically relating to the card, whether they saw something over the last couple of days which could give Frampton fans cause for concern.
I'm going to go to Spencer on that one because I know towards the end of his career he was struggling with weight making, and I think that it's a very important point there.
Yeah, I think that both guys are massive for super bantamweights. Let's get that out there straight away. Anyway, Quick is huge, but we go back to the public workout a couple of days ago where they both had a public workout. Quick was sweating a lot and he seemed to be drinking a lot. And Cole Frampton, who worked very hard in that workout, didn't have a bead of sweat on him, so that would tell you that he was struggling to make the weight. He is a big guy and he looks substantially bigger after the weigh-in. So when he gets in the ring, he looks like a different guy. He looks like he's gone up 3 weight divisions. So the answer to that is yes, definitely. I think he is struggling to make the weight. And come through this fight, I wouldn't be surprised if he moved up sometime in the near future because it obviously is a problem. He's at that age now, 28, 29 years of age, and he's been keeping down at that weight for a long time. He boxed as an amateur, actually as a featherweight, so he's actually come down in weight, and it is a big problem. And I don't think that's a secret. I think we saw that at the public workout.
And also Carl addressed that in his last fight as well. You know, there was a bit of confusion of what the story would be out, the give for the performance. He said, I'm struggling to make the weight, I'm thinking about moving up. Barry interjected and kind of tried to fluff over that. So it's not a secret, but he knows he's had to do it right for this one here. I agree with Spencer, I do think he'll move up in weight after this fight. And if he does lose that, I think he might put it down to that as well as this argument over the dressing room products.
I think the weight making stuff is fine, and it's interesting because one, I've never had to do it. But 2 is I think Carl Frampton this time around has actually tried to stay on weight on fight week. I actually believe now that he's a couple of pounds overweight, and I think he has been for 3 or 4 days. And interested to get the opinion of some of the guys, especially some of the smaller guys who had to make weight, of fighters that, you know, Tony Bellew, Dave, was the same when he was at light heavyweight. He never used to come down on the day of the weigh-in. He'd get to 12.9, 12.10, on the Wednesday, Thursday, you know, and everyone used to say that, and so it's a way up of, do you bring your weight down, not crash your weight, but do you bring it down on Thursday, maybe have a session Friday morning, or do you bring yourself down on the Monday or Tuesday? And I'm convinced for this fight that Frampton has brought himself right down on fight week, and I think he's only 2 or 3 pounds over the weight and has been for a couple of days.
Well, just talking about bringing the weight down and bringing it down suddenly and bringing it down sort of a week or two before and getting on the weight a week or two before, my personal experience of doing that, because I tried both ways, and you're saying there that you think that he's brought the weight down this time before, as opposed to, you know, a day before you get on the scales, or 20 hours before you get on the scales. Now, I've done it where I've brought it down before, and that weakened me a lot, and I found that much harder. To make the weight a week before is not a good thing. I think that making the weight a couple of hours before is a good thing, because that's when your strength, you can rehydrate quicker and you keep your strength up. I think if he has done that and he's got his weight down maybe a week before, thinking that was the right thing to do, that would be a bad move.
I think the thing is, if he's done this for the first time, and if that is what he's done, he doesn't know how his body's going to react. And he doesn't know how his body's going to react when he gets it on the chin. Going back to the chin question, that'll all be answered on Saturday night, because when you're struggling to make the weight, you don't take a good shot. And if he's kept his weight down for the first time like this, for a few days, for a couple of days, or whatever he's done, and it's totally new, going into that ring, coming off a fight where he's been dropped twice in his previous fight and he's blaming it on the making the weight, it's changed everything. Going into that ring, he will have doubts in his mind on how he's going to cope when he gets hit on the chin. And I think that could be a big factor.
Guys, questions? We've got a few more minutes.
Johnny.
Just to deviate from Saturday's fight a little, see Liam Dowd's been making a few comments about the ball fight. How likely, in all honesty, do you think either fighter will be the winner, actually bringing down
Eddie?
Well, the winner has to fight Rigondeaux to keep their WBA belt, but also the IBF have a mandatory called Shingo weight. If you want to keep the IBF title, you have to fight Shingo weight. So unfortunately, after this, because of the politics of boxing, and we know the rules, it's not a surprise, you may have to lose one belt. Benair also wants to fight for the WBO, which is a great fight. I know, again, this isn't what fight fans sometimes want to hear, but when you fight the very best in the world, you have to be rewarded for it, right? So I'm not doing my job if I turn around to Anthony Crolla and say, right, you're now going to go in and fight Floyd Mayweather, but could you do it for small money because the fans really want it? Do you know what I mean? Don't get me wrong, you want to fight the best, and there has to be that element. You've got to, but he's got advisors, he's got, you know, his own, and it's a short career. So when you gamble, you have to gamble for all the marbles, and that's what we're doing with Anthony Joshua against Charles Mine. That's a really tough fight, but it's for the heavyweight championship of the world. If it was for a final eliminator to become mandatory, we wouldn't take the Charles Martin fight. So you have to weigh up all the options, and that'll be the situation with Rigondeaux. Fans want that fight. I actually believe Scott Quigg beats Rigondeaux. Maybe I'm just so super confident at the moment. But I see things like when Rigondeaux boxed Hamagasa, who's boxing Josh Warrington. I don't know. And even when he boxed in his last fight, he's got skills to burn. But Scott's a strong man. You know, and actually Scott wants to fight Rigondeaux. And if it doesn't happen, you can probably blame me. Or you probably would anyway.
For Johnny, this one. When you did the gloves are off, when you did the predictions, Carl Frampton said that he could comfortably beat Scott Quigg on points. Do you think if it does go the distance, can Scott Quigg win on the judges' scorecards?
Yeah, as I said, if he can draw him into his kind of dogfight, yeah, without a doubt. And that's what I'm saying, it's about who can impose their will, their style, their skill on the other the most. Now, if Scott Quigg gives Carl Frampton enough space to move and box and size him up and measure him off and pop the shots off, Scott's going to win hands down. Carl's going to win hands down. If Scott can talk Carl into trying to war with him from round 1 to round 12, Scott Quigg is the better fighter. So therefore it's going to be in his favour. So it's a case of whose will, whose plan, whose game plan from their corners as well can be imposed on the other the most. And that's why it's so hard for any of us to say he'll definitely win, because both these guys are so evenly matched and good at what they do in their own way. So that's why it's just very, very hard.
Another question. Just about when you were talking about changing rooms and people's preferences where the fighters want to be, just something for Mr. Hearn actually. Just puzzled why did you not fly Scott out on the private jet and chose EasyJet?
I'll tell you why, it's very simple. I work a little bit differently to other promoters in that that when their fighters get to a certain size, they own the show, right? And I work for them. So the answer is, Scott Quigg was paying for that flight. And if you know Scott Quigg, he definitely ain't going on private jet unless it's free. So he wasn't happy that it was £72.50. To be honest with you.
But he's happy to go to Belfast.
And also, in these big shows, co-promotion, all the costs go into the pot. So if you imagine what's happening with the change room at the moment, that has happened on a dozen other issues. And this has been the most painful experience of my career so far. But on Saturday, it'll all be worth it.
Do you know what a serious note though, Eddie? I mean, looking at the Carl Frampton interview before, he's literally talking about he's not going to fight unless this gets up, because he's adamant he's not. He's going to take that room, and if not, you lock the door.
Yeah, I mean, I think Spencer's just got to go and do
Spencer
this.
and Dak. Spencer and Aaron have got to go. Just before they go, quick prediction from both of you. Frampton, how?
Points. Points.
Spencer?
Yeah, I agree with Darren. I think it's it's a real 50-50 fight. Both guys are going to have to go for it to win, but I believe that Frampton wins. Johnny Nelson would tell
Get off, go now. Spencer Oliver and Darren Barker.
Dave.
It's no secret that Frampton can't pay it, Eddie. Watching all the build-up, I kind of think that Frampton's getting too much emotional and a bit too involved with this. Do you agree? Do you think it'll affect him on Fight Night?
I didn't think he was that wound up today until the face-to-face. And basically, he put his hand on Scott Quigg's shoulder, which is, as Anthony said, not a good idea. Scott said, "Don't touch me." He did it again. Scott pushed him, and then he grabbed Scott, went towards him, and then he called me a lanky. And I see in his eyes, like it was, you know when someone snaps and loses their temper. And I said to him jokingly, "Thanks for that. I've never been called lanky before. Normally it's fat, something like that." And he said, "I'm not joking. You touch me again." And I thought, wow. I said, "I thought you just told me you were calm." And Finbar was getting off on one, and all that, like he just lost the plot as well. But I tell you what it is this fight means a lot to everyone. Do you know what I mean? So I can't tell you how much we all want to win, but that's what sport's about. I've been involved in big fights before where I've been desperate to win, and I've been involved with other fights. Of course, I wanted to win, but and like Froch Groves at Wembley. That was a fight where it meant so much to our business, because if George Groves would have won that night, I had to make a choice when his contract ended. Do I stay with Carl Froch, or do I try and re-sign George Groves and cause murders between my relationship with Carl Froch? I said, you know what,